Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start today with the Ellis County Public Building Commission meeting. So we'll start with the call to order. And Secretary, call roll.
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Present.
I guess it should be President Nathan Liker
Present.
and Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay. Next, we have the approval of prior minutes or agenda. We really have no agenda. So we'll have approval of prior minutes.
Everything's good.
Okay.
Works.
Yep. Next, we have project manager report.
Good morning, Darren Myers, project manager for the PBC. Before you this morning, it's kind of the final steps of the PBC in regards to anything moving forward. Back in 2013, the commission and the PBC was formed to borrow money in the form of bonds to purchase and remodel this building that we sit in, as well as the 601 Main, which is where the health department was located at that time. Since 2013, the county's been paying on those bonds, and they were originally scheduled to go through 2028. However, each year after this year, the bond amounts were supposed to significantly decrease. In the county commission budget for 2024, instead of having the PBC continue for the next 5 years, the amount that had decreased enough that we end up approving a budget, or the commission approved a budget to pay all those bonds off 4 years early. Early this year through the beginning of February and into March, the payments were actually made, and all of the bonds are paid off for both this building and 601 Main. So with that, there's really nothing to continue with the PBC to have any meetings, any funding or payments or anything. So in the future, instead of having PBC meetings once a quarter, and speaking to Mr. Jeter, we would just meet each year during the commission and the PBC reorganization in January, have a meeting each year just like we are today, and appoint the new president and members of the PBC and continue from there. So that way we don't have to have meetings to approve or do nothing unless we get to the point of wanting to borrow money to do any building projects into the future.
Okay. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Does it just have to be buildings? If we were to borrow for roads?
Roads, you just, we do just like we did in 2020. We can take out bonding. Obviously, you have to have your limits and everything on how much you can bond out for what your revenue and what your expenditures are. But all road projects can be done through the general county commission meetings and doesn't have to go through a vote or anything or through the PBC.
Okay. Mr. Younger?
As long as Mr. Jeter's good with it and we do it once a year, then keep it in play in case we do need it.
Okay, I'm good with that. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the Public Building Commission at 8:33. Okay, next, moving on to the Board of County Commission. So, first, well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the County Commission meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call roll?
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Present.
Chair Nathan Liker.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Order of business, are there any changes to the order of business? Mr. Younger?
Except for Linda.
Okay,
So
all right. With that, do we want to add her now after the,
after we approve the
okay, after the consent
Minute,
agenda? Okay. Moving on, well, prior minutes, does everybody have a chance to look at those?
Fine.
Any
Good.
problems?
again, good.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
That all is to me looks good too. So I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Issues from people not on the order of business. That would be you.
Hello, my name is Linda Pfeiffer, and I'm here to represent the Ellis Nutrition Center. And I'm just here today to thank you, as a county, for your donation or your money each year to us. Otherwise, without your money, we wouldn't be able to function.
Okay, well, thank you.
And
We
I just
appreciate
wanted
what
to
you do.
say
Thanks for what you do.
thank you. Otherwise, our senior citizens wouldn't be able to enjoy a nice home-cooked meal.
That's right.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are there anybody else from the public that wish to speak?
Morning. Ken Kennedy, 4500 Danby Lane here in Hayes, Kansas. And I'm here this morning to speak with you about taxes. I think I've become kind of a spring event with taxes because I want to discuss just briefly about the impact of taxes on our community and its citizens. But I'm coming a little earlier this year simply because at last meeting, you all had a brief discussion about your interest in controlling the tax impact and burden on our citizens, and I appreciated that. I mean, the fact that you brought that up well in advance of establishing the FY25 budget is important, so I wanted to compliment each of you on that and encourage you to continue to discuss that as you're developing your budget for next year, looking at ways to control the impact on we taxpayers, all of us. And so I thank you for that. I also, before I start formally, I want to thank Darren and Bobby and Eugene and Vernon. They are really great. When I call them and ask for questions or ask for information, each one of them gets back to me very quickly, and it's very helpful. And more important than that as well is your overall staff. I've had quite a bit of opportunity to come to the county building and do business since we moved here 5 years ago, and I've really been impressed by the county's attitude towards at least me, and I assume it's the same for everyone that comes in. The staffs are all very helpful, and that says a lot for the way you all run the county. So I'm certainly not here to complain about the county's operation or about the roads in the county or any of those kind of things. You all do a great job with that. But I am concerned about the impact of taxes on our citizens. And I think each of you probably to some extent as well, especially when you get your tax statements. The problem when we get our tax statements, they're late in the year, November, December, and the budget's already established pretty much at that time, and you can't really change it at that time. So that's why I'm here a little bit early. And I didn't put a lot of formal information together. You all know your budget far better than I do. Darren knows it backwards and forward. There's no reason for me to try to explain your budget to you. But the parts that I know of and the parts that impact taxpayers is that tax statement and the appraisal sheet that we get. And we've all got the appraisal sheets we get. But in fairness, I have to say that this year, the appraisals on residences, and I don't know businesses because I don't have a formal business, but my assumptions are that the businesses didn't go up as much as they have in previous years. And in all fairness, ag land went down to some extent, at least that ag land that I have. And so I assume that ag land did decrease. Now, that's not a result of county efforts. That's a result of a floating average that the state puts together regarding production on ag land, and I think it's a 10-year floating average, so it kind of goes up and down as their average changes. But I did look at your overall budget, and I added a column. Your budget book has 21, 22, 23, 24. It takes off 1 year each year and adds on another year. So I looked at your overall budget and I added in 2020. This is straight out of your budget book with the addition of 2020 being put in to look back 5 years. And if you look back at 5 years, your budget has increased 9.75% average per year. Now I can't stand here and say that's not fair or it's fair. I don't know. You had a lot of things happen. You had sales tax money that you invested in some enhancements to the emergency management as well as other areas, and so your budget does flow up and down a little bit each year. But if you look back at the last couple of years of taxes, it's been a tremendous increase on taxpayers as a result of assessed valuations. Now, you all don't have much control of assessed valuations either, so the only thing you really have a lot of control of as far as commissioners is two things. One is the budget that you established, and the other is the mill levy. And the mill levy is somewhat dependent upon the budget you establish, and then other revenues that come in, like sales tax and those type of things, you don't have a lot of control of, other than you hope for them to be very good. And there's one other aspect of budgeting that you do have some control in. You can't have bake sales when you're a little short, but you can apply for a lot of grants. And grants are very helpful, but always keep in mind that most grants received are other tax dollars. They're just a little farther away from Ellis County. They come from the state or they come from the federal government generally. And so grant dollars, while important, are still generally taxes. But there's three important components to a budgeting process as a Board of Commissioners, and that would be adequacy, equity, and efficiency. There's those three important components. And adequacy, you'll never have enough. No government agency have I ever been involved with has said, we have too much money. We don't need all this money. You know, you've always got needs which exceed your revenue, typically. And you have to balance that. That's a continual balancing act. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But then equity means you be fair. You're fair with your expenditures and fair with your revenue. That means that and you've talked about this before, if the bridge over the Saline River needs to be replaced, doesn't mean that I need a bridge out of my farm. Equity means that you take good care of the roads everywhere, whether it's over the Saline River or whether it's out east of town or wherever it's at, that you take the best care you can of roads. That's equity, that's fairness. And then the last one is efficiency. And that's always the most difficult one to talk about with governing bodies, is efficiency. And I've often thought that that's the key to effective government, is being efficient. And if you look at local government, is typically more efficient than state government. And state government is a whole lot more efficient than federal government, typically. But I don't know that I ever seen government hire efficiency officers. Now, some probably do, but it's the most important part of budgeting and of governing is efficiency. So that's a difficult situation. I think Darren and his staff probably are responsible for that and do a good job of it. I'm not criticizing. But efficiency is a very difficult one because you'll never have enough to meet all the demands, and the demands typically grow each year. But with efficiency, you have to look at things like, maybe we don't grow this part of our government because the future costs of that will be too great. And so those type of things. But I'm just here to say that the 9.75% increase in budget over the last 5 years, average over the last 5 years, is one part of it. But the other part of it is to look at what's happening to the citizens' taxes. And I want to again say, I appreciate you all discussing it. And last year, Darren told me that after there was some additional revenue maybe coming in. I think he mentioned that you publicly then later on, before he talked to me about it. But there was some additional revenue, and if that revenue came in, you would be able to reduce your mill levy slightly, and you did that. And I appreciate that. It looks this year, and I don't single the county commission out to talk to about the tax impact. I also talk to the school district, and I talk to the city each year, because all three of you are the primary responsible parties as far as what happens with our taxes and what happens with the developments in our community. So each one of them, it looks this year, it looks a little bit positive that the state may do something to help the school district mill levies. It looks now, if the governor signs legislation through the wrap-up session, that there might be a little bit of adjustment to the levy coming from school districts because of some things they're doing as far as the exemptions and the 20 mil state requirement. And then the city, I haven't talked with them yet, but I hope they can look at some adjustments as well. So in summary, I just want to say thanks for what you do as a county. First of all, our county's in good shape, and I think you all do a great job of taking care of it. I'm proud to be an Ellis County resident. It's a great place to live, and we've not lived here but 5 years, but I've enjoyed those 5 tremendously, except for the wind and the dust and the lack of moisture. But other than that, it's been fine. And then also to encourage you to continue your discussions about ways to look out for we taxpayers as you work on your FY25 budget. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to comment on Mr. Kennedy. I really do appreciate that. You see, and we all brag on our head departments and all our workers. So if you're seeing it, there's other people seeing it too. So we do have good people in place. So I appreciate that.
And I would like to say thank you for coming. There's a lot of people who will talk about the taxes and the statements and not actually come. So I do appreciate you coming and actually speaking. So thank you.
And, you know, we did last year work hard, and we're going to work hard again. It needs to go probably above us too. Maybe talk to some of our representatives, which I have been to for tax purposes. So every little thing's going to help with the tax situation. So, but again, thank you for coming. So.
Okay. Next, we have the monthly departmental report. Any comments on that?
I don't have any comments.
I'd like to make a couple comments. One, I'm not sure if you gentlemen caught it, but the appraiser's report has a really nice interactive report. So I want to thank you, Gene, for adding that in. I do appreciate that in the departmental reports. And then on the, well, I'm sure you both knew or heard about the fire northeast Ellis County here last week. But if you paid attention to the departmental report, it's trending above normal.
Yep.
So that's something to keep an eye on. And then under our health department, I'd like to appreciate Kim, and I don't believe she's here, but they just finished a 3-year process of getting job descriptions for all the nurses in a medical office that they have. So I would like to appreciate that and say thank you to following through and getting that accomplished.
That is true. Education, ongoing training is great. And there again, we're going to brag on our departments. They all make sure that everybody gets the correct training. So,
Okay. With that, we'll move on to our Care Council update on outside agency funding assistance.
And while Erica comes up for the public and for clarification, I'm going to sit and be a part of the discussion on Care Council. Erica is my wife, but as far as Care Council, she just collects the things. She's not on the council or makes decisions. But there may be questions about the United Way, and if those questions come up, then I will recuse myself.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Erica Burgess, Executive Director of the United Way. And I'll just kind of start by giving you a brief description of the Care Council if you're not familiar with it, and a history of it. So the Care Council is made up of 13 volunteers. One is the chair, and then there's 4 people that represent the United Way, 4 that represent Ellis County, and 4 that represent the city of Hayes. It was founded in 1994. And I think United Way saw that a lot of these agencies that they were funding were also filling out applications for the city and for the county, and kind of was thinking, how's a better way that we can do this so these agencies aren't having to fill out applications that were pretty much the same thing. So at that time, it was an application for the United Way funds, the Ellis County alcohol tax, and then the city of Hayes alcohol tax. Then in 2003, they included the City of Hayes social service funds. Currently, we have 20 agencies that fill out applications that are involved in the Care Council. 10 of those ask for United Way funds only. 8 ask for United Way and city funds. 3 ask for city-only funds, and then 2 are city and county. And so those are for the alcohol tax funds. So, talking, is this something that Ellis County wants to do for their outside funding agencies? These agencies can be included in one application. They do always ask for the separate amounts on our application. It's an online application. There's different places where they're requesting certain funds from United Way, certain from the city, and if they're asking for county funds, then it would be a separate request for that dollar amount. Looking at who you fund, 6 of those agencies currently fill out applications for us for United Way funds and or city funds as well. Looking at the list also, it looks like there would be 6 or 7 new applicants that would have to go through this care council process. So do you have any questions, or where do you information do you need from here?
What's kind of the timeline for these agencies to look at getting funded, and
Sure.
where does that process start?
Perfect. So our applications start in September, and they're due usually by the 1st of December. Then in January, our care council does site visits, so they go to these agencies and kind of have interviews with them to really get to know their project and what they're requesting funds for. And then in February, it's determined the amount. Now, what's a little confusing about it, probably about 6 years ago now, United Way turned from pre-campaign allocation funding to post-campaign. We weren't quite raising the funds that we were hoping. So when that happened, we had already allocated the amounts to the agency. Well, knowing our budget and what we had available, we would have to turn around and tell these agencies, well, we didn't quite raise as much funds, so now your allocation is going to be lower. We didn't think that was fair to the agencies, and it kind of put more work on us. So we turned it to a post-allocation process. So that's where we got our current timeline. Now, a little of the confusing thing is when the agencies are asking for funds, they're asking, like, I'll just use this past one. They were asking for 2024 funds from the United Way, so they're getting that money this calendar year. But they were asking for 2025 city funds. In that case, it's because we need to know what we're going to ask for from the city by May. And so to make that all work, instead of having 2 separate care council, kind of processes, which would defeat the purpose, we all combined it into one. We went to the agencies and kind of asked them, is this going to be too confusing for you? Is this timeline won't work? They all came back saying, no, this is fine for us. So we didn't just steamroll them, and we did get their feedback. So the one thing that I think you guys would need to decide is if you want, how you want to be in the timeline. If you were included in this next care council process that started in September, you would either need to choose, okay, this is the 2025 budget that you've already set. The only probably con to that would be the agencies that ask for funds wouldn't know what they're awarded until 2025 already began. The other thing we could do is you would go through your process like normal for your 2025 budget cycle, but then we would include you as a 2026 budget cycle, if that makes sense. I know it's confusing. We're working with 2 different calendar years and funding years for these agencies, but.
So would the agency then come to us for 2025 this year and the care council for 2026 in September of 24?
We would probably need to know by at least February of 2025 what the county had available for those outside agencies, what we would be able to allocate, the dollar amount. We would kind of need to know, okay, what's your dollar amount that we're able to allocate?
Okay.
If that makes sense, which if we did 2025, obviously you would know, yeah, we put in this budget for outside agencies. the agencies just wouldn't know what they were getting until 2025 began.
Okay. How would that work if we tied it to a mill levy of some sort, which fluctuates in the future?
Again, we would just need to know the amount that we had available to allocate.
So
That's really what we're concerned about, because obviously with United Way and city, we always get requested funds that are more than what we're able to allocate out. So that's what the group is kind of in charge of, is figuring out, how much we can fund these agencies that are within a certain dollar amount.
Okay.
So we would kind of need to know what that amount is before we made the final decision in February.
Okay.
So is that, and that's probably too early in the game, since if we agree on this, that, is it going to hurt some of the other agencies that are, I'm not going to call it double dipping, but get some from here and then they apply at different?
That would probably be a question for the care council, the actual volunteers. I kind of figured after this meeting, I would go to the care council, see if this is something that they want to take on, if they think it would be a conflict of interest. I'll tell you though, these volunteers are very passionate about these agencies. The one, you always know when it's working, when these volunteers want to come back year after year and do the same process. The way we do it, we split them up into 4 different categories. So there's one representative from each entity, United Way, the county, and the city, that are in these groups, and then they review about 5 agencies. So they really concentrate on those 5 agencies, go visit them, and when that final kind of meeting comes where we determine funding, they're usually fighting hard for those agencies to get as much funding as we're able to give. So I don't see them, they're not important. Even they're going to look at the history of what the county has given them, and we'll stay close to that.
Okay. When you do go back, if you think of it, you said you got 14 volunteers?
13.
13.
And then the United Way, as far as myself and the assistant, we're just kind of the administration of it. We take care of the applications, put them all together for the volunteers. We set up the site visit schedule for them, and then the meetings that the care council does. So that's kind of our role in it.
Thank those people, because
Yeah.
volunteers is a lot.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yeah, well, like I said, they really enjoy it. They like to learn more about these agencies. They usually come away and say, man, we wish the community knew what these agencies are doing, because they're doing important work.
Okay.
You have any?
No, you hit, that was my question, is just the care council makeup and what, I think the advantage I've always looked at versus what a commission can do is the time that the care council can spend at the agencies. I don't know, hours and days, they split that up. And then the volunteers, how are they appointed by the county, or is there a process, or is it just a call for volunteers, or how
It's
is
kind of a call for volunteers. The United Way members are made up of our board members. The city appointees do have to go through an application process through the city, but we kind of recruit them at the same time. So if you wanted to become a little bit more part of it, right now for Ellis County, we just recruit them. But if that's something that you wanted to have an application process for, you sure could. We probably still would be kind of the recruitment arm for it, though. From what I can kind of tell, that we can find them and people who are interested in doing them.
And you've already closed so the application for 2025, as far as this, like city is.
For the
has
city,
closed.
yeah, it's already closed.
Allocated that in February. So for us, as a county, we'd have to essentially reconvene that to do for 2025. Is that?
If you wanted the agencies to know what they were getting before the 2025 budget year,
Okay.
yes, possibly.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I will recuse myself from the rest of the conversation.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I guess this is, what did we have, 6 or 8 agencies that we had looked at maybe going this route with. That's going to be quite more of an undertaking. What would it take for the United Way and the Care Council to help do this? Is there
Sure.
going to be a cost associated?
I've kind of actually been thinking about something even in prior years. A lot of United Ways around the state do go to their county and their city to ask for funds. Right now, we do not. What the two entities do is have workplace campaigns. So the employees of the county and employees of the city donate on their behalf, or, through payroll deductions, cash check, that sort of thing. So, as far as that, if we allocate a little bit from the outside agency budget, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that either, because we really want them to go to the other agencies. But a thought I had was maybe doing a employee match. Whatever the employees of Ellis County, the Ellis County government would match that. That could be an option as well, and probably something that I would take to the city as well.
Because there's going to be some extra time
Right.
involved with taking this on and
Right.
doing this. So I understand there's going to be a cost.
Yeah.
I think it would be beneficial in the end for all these agencies, like Mr. Burgess said, of actually getting to know them and going
Right.
and spending the time with them.
I guess that's what my question, do they go through an application process right now, or do they just come before the county and present?
Come before.
Okay, I was just curious, because that would probably be a change to some of these agencies too, that we don't fund or the city funds is filling out an application. It's not a real in-depth one, but it would take some probably time for them, and then the site visit as well.
And that would, me looking at that would be good
Yes.
to have them go to that, and our whole community, all our taxpayers can understand where this funding goes, what
Right.
it does, who it helps, and
Yeah.
affects a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Now, would this be, if the dollars come through, do they go to the United Way or straight to Care Council?
With how the city goes, I'll just use the city as an example, because obviously United Way funds come directly from us. We put in a request with the city that lists out the agencies and the amounts. We do that twice a year, once in January and once in June. The city makes the checks out directly to those agencies. So really, we just take the checks and mail them out. That's the only thing that we do. No funds are ever deposited in any of our accounts. The checks are made directly to the agencies.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions?
Okay. I think if you have any other questions, come to us. I will be taking this to our board and probably presenting it to the Care Council as well, just to get their feedback on it and make sure it's a mutual decision on both parts, that if we want to go forward, we will.
And you will let us know at that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Very good.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you for coming and
Yep.
presenting this today.
Thank you.
Thank you, First Lady.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, we have the Ellis County Historical Society update.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Amanda Rupp with the Ellis County Historical Society. I take a breath because, boy, talking about budget is no fun. I don't like your guys' job. And I always have to come up here after so many important people have such, they do such wonderful things for the county that absolutely need to be done. So when I get up here and, anyway. So I've kept you guys up kind of updated. And I just kind of wanted to get in front of you again, obviously, before the budget season starts. And I gave you guys a copy of our annual report, and I did have a PowerPoint, but I forgot to give it to you, and I don't think I really need it. I've gone over a lot with you guys already. It talks about our capital campaigns, and the sheriff out here says he was going to interrupt if it wasn't exactly the same as I gave yesterday, so for the Rotary. So I just kind of wanted to go over a little bit. You know about the brick by brick, and we're moving along with that, and about Victoria and how we signed the lease there, and we are ready to start some projects over there, the roof. I just wanted to reiterate that our new strategic plan that we're going to start working on for our next 5 years, we've really accomplished a lot in the last 3 years. And it's time to turn our focus to, okay, we've secured our spot. What do we want for Ellis County in the way of this quality of life or this tourism aspect that we have? And the Victoria site will offer a lot in the tourism area of it. It brings in the displays that we would have there, bring in a lot of out-of-region visitors, not only statewide but nationally and internationally, especially with the Volga German immigrants and the Walker Army Airfield that will have displays there. So we think that hopefully capitalizing on the tourism that comes through there with the Basilica, 15 to 18,000 visitors, that with a ticketed price over there, we will be able to increase our own revenue source and maintain that property. But then what are we looking for in our Hayes Museum and our Hayes attractions? We obviously own the rest of that lot on the north side of 7th, and we've got some property that we can expand on. But we were really hoping to have a space, an event space, or a community collaboration space where people come not just once a year when they come in 4th grade, and then when they come back to bring their grandkids and pay the $6 to get in. Hopefully that can be a facility that the city or the county residents can use freely, and we can have multiple things going there. I mentioned to somebody the other day that once we have this nice new building there, it'd be a shame to be sitting there and paying one staff to run it with the same exhibits over and over again, and we've put in so much work. So that's always a concern, and I think later on in the packet there, I did go over the budget, and what we were really proud of, obviously, that we've been working really hard on, is that in the past 2 years we've received over $800,000 in capital grant monies, and I think once we're finished with those projects, we can turn that effort into pursuing more programming grants and donations in that realm. So it's not going to go away. It's a great number. And then the other, obviously, one to brag on is the 1,300 hours of volunteer services that we've used in 2023. Saved us almost $25,000 in funds. So those things will continue to be a top priority for us. And then on the budget side of it, before this current administration got in a hold of the Historical Society, there wasn't much fundraising going on. There wasn't much outside revenue. They weren't looking for, they were coming for their little bit of allocation from public funding, and in my opinion, necessarily weren't doing much with it. And I think I say this a lot that, oh shoot, I forgot his lovely name. The commissioner that was before, Butch, there we go. When I first came up here, he said, why would we throw good money at bad money? And he was absolutely correct, because I think that, $70,000, if you're gonna allocate $70,000 to a building that's just gonna stand there stagnant, it really is a waste of money. So if it's not there flourishing, it's not worth, I think, any. But so what I would like to point out, if you go to the next slide, is that, as the county and the city's in blue and the county, as those have lowered or stayed steady, our own earned revenue, which will never be up to, sustaining ourselves entirely, has continued to grow and hopefully will continue to grow, a little bit more steadily as we back off some of the capital projects. But that's just a little bit of bragging on, the goals and the gains that we've made. I would like to show that the admissions price that people see when they come into a museum or a tourist attraction like that. Ellis County Historical Society was, in their peak, probably pulling in still under $5,000 a year for a ticketed price to come in the door. And it doesn't really pay for much, even, keep the lights on. So we haven't been open nearly half the time because we were on part-time staff, and a donation box is receiving half the funds that a ticketed admission price was. And I think with the administration that we have, the board that we have, we're going to continue to try and find those own funds. So we appreciate the funds that the Ellis County the Ellis County government has given us, as well as the city and everybody's donations personally. So. But I would like to talk a little bit about our summer activities going on. We, of course, are still working on that main museum gallery, so it's not open yet, but we will have 3 interns, so we will be able to open 7 days a week. And it won't be at extra cost to our operating budget. We have a temporary exhibit coming in from Concordia on the Orphan Train Museum. A lot of descendants of orphan train riders here in the county. And then we also started a collaboration with the Humanities Kansas entity, and they are doing a oral history project on veterans of the Vietnam War. And so our curator, Adam, has started in search of veterans in our area that would like to participate in that and do interviews and get an oral history and save those for future generations. We have quite a few. We have a whole cabinet actually of wonderful people that have served in the Second World War, and I've been told, doesn't seem like that long ago, it was before my time, but Vietnam vets are now an average of 70, 72 years old. So that's a project that we're really proud of and behind. So little by little, we're doing a little bit on the side. And then the other thing for, I don't remember if I've talked to you guys about it, but downtown Hayes has the walking tour displays, those little plaques that are all over downtown, and it has been a goal of mine to get tourists and get people active. The downtown is flourishing and wonderful. We want to be a part of that, and technology today, they still go downtown or they go to the CVB and pick up this black and white horrible brochure that doesn't have any information on it, and it's the most picked up brochure down there. The downtown businesses carry it, and they say that's the one that people want to, besides, I mean, they don't pick up the one from Sternberg or something else, and they'll go downtown and walk. So my ultimate vision was to have one that superimposes it on your screen. That's down the road. But we did work with a TMP senior this last year, Henry Meitner, with his capstone project, and he found a wonderful app platform for us old non-tech people that we can, once he relinquishes it to us, it's nice and friendly to work with, and we can manage it. He has entered in all the data and put in all the stops, and so we hope to debut a walking tour app that has multiple pictures, extra information on each stop, and hopefully will become a little bit more of an interactive and wonderful addition to downtown. So we hope to debut that with a new brochure at the Hayes Spring Art Walk. So if you have a chance, please go out and try and use it. Tell me if there's any glitches you find in it, so that we can be ready for the summer season of doing that. And I think that might be all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions about our budget and what we plan on doing, I'd love to answer anything before you guys get really busy this summer.
Comments?
I still can remember that first day when you come in, you stood off to the side of the podium, and I thought, what are you getting yourself into? But the comment was made earlier for Mr. Kennedy, grants. You have jumped leaps and bounds. You have made that building.
And you know, that comes with, it wouldn't have been me by myself.
Right.
I think before, maybe the administration that they had there either didn't look at those, but they also didn't have the capacity to look at those. They were utilizing a full-time staff they had other projects to run at the time. And we have been able, if we wouldn't have gotten the funds from the county or the city, that had been bumped a little bit, to be able to hire a part-time administration assistant to do the bookkeeping part of it, that takes up quite a bit of time. I wouldn't have had the time to go out and find those grants and look for those. So,
But as Commissioner Schleier said,
Yeah,
that we were
that's right.
throwing, and I had to agree with him, but
Yeah.
after you guys all come aboard, you've done excellent there. So I appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you for the update. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and you can
Thank you.
see what you're doing, so I appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the KRAF Grant Award.
Good morning, Danita Schrader, Ellis County EMS Director. In December, I came before you and asked for permission to apply for the CRAFT grant. That is the Kansas Revolving and Assistance Fund provided by the Kansas Board of EMS. We were notified last week that we did receive that again this year. They give us 25% of the bid, whatever we put in for it. They use it for equipment or education items as well. So we did apply for 2 EKG monitors with it. The total bill, do you want the total bill? I have it on another form. Anyway, we were awarded $17,048 to go towards the total bill. So that leaves our share at $51,145 for our EKG monitors. So I guess what I'm asking is that you approve this, and I will go ahead and get them ordered. I did have these in my capital budget, so I'm.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope, pretty straightforward as far as I'm concerned. I
Okay.
think it works.
We need them to,
Yep. Yeah,
to do what we need our job.
We
so.
have 9 monitors in total. Last year, we were awarded 4, and I'm just trying to spread them out a little
Okay.
bit because trying to get 9 all at once is a huge chunk. So,
And these are just a new update.
yes, new
Okay.
update. Yep. And the craft grant only has a minimum, a maximum of $20,000. So if I do it in chunks, we're likely to get better awards for that.
Okay. No, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve PO number 7821 in the amount of $68,194.34 to purchase 2 Zelix Series EKG monitors.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
All right.
Thank
Thank you, Danita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have 2024 asphalt maintenance materials.
Morning, Commissioners. Darren Myers, County Administrator. Your next agenda item is to award the bid for the purchase of emulsion oils for the asphalt season coming up this season. The Public Works Director is unable to attend the meeting, so that's why you have me talking about oil. So I will do my best. But as you can see on there, Brendan did a good job in explaining how the figure came up to be of that $741,000. Basically, as the commission has approved, about 10 to 12 miles of road, which is a significant increase over previous years in the amount of roads that are going to be both overlaid as well as sealed. This is broken down into 3 different categories. There's about 10 to 12 miles of roads that will get sealed with some type of fog, chip, or scrub seal. And then there's another part of this where the oil that is taken to mix the asphalt materials together to get it ready for the overlays. And that's about 10 to 12 miles. But then that same 10 to 12 miles also gets sealed on top of it with another type of oil and seal to protect that new layer of asphalt. So this year is the total financial impact is, as you can see, there's just over $741,000 to do those to start off the first year of the new asphalt road maintenance program. And I guess overall it was kind of amazing. I didn't think it would be that many gallons that it would take, but 150,000 gallons of oil is what it takes to do that amount of road work each year. So I'll try to answer any questions if you have them, but before you is the approval of that PO, so that way they can get it ordered, and I believe they're wanting to start mixing the asphalt next week.
Okay. Comments?
It's we're behind on our roads, and this is a start. And everything's associated with a cost, and a big cost. But we've got to keep our roads up.
This is for the 12 mile or 13 miles, or what is it? How much?
Yes, sir. I could pull out the budget book and see exactly how many, but it's roughly 10 to 12 miles, depending on how much oil it's going to take, and that's the variance in this whole entire 150,000 gallons. Is they're using it based on prior samples of the rock that they get to ensure that they have the proper amount of oil per square yard, I believe. So that we could come back after this if it does end up taking more oil, but this is their best case scenario for what they can do at this point.
Okay.
But it is that full road plan that the commission approved for 2024.
Okay.
Just to kind of clarify, normally would this come in this format before the commission? Or is this because we've kind of revisited our purchasing policy and are trying to make sure that they don't have to come in for each load?
So this is part a little bit of both of that. Our purchasing policy states that a purchase anything over 20,000 for road supplies and maintenance, it has to be approved by the county commission. In years past, that has not been done. The Public Works has just approves the PO or sends the PO out, and they order it tank truck by tank truck, which those tank trucks are over $30,000 a piece to get them ordered and delivered to Hayes. So it was done that way because whenever they would order it every other day, or for when they're laying or sealing roads, that amount was always over the amount that was approved. So to follow policy this year and to make sure that we're fully transparent is we did the best case scenario, and for estimating the amount of material that would be needed, put this all on one PO. So that way every other day when they order a truck, they just, if it's 25,000 on Monday, 30,000 on Tuesday for the amount of oil that they're ordering, it just chips off that total PO amount. And then if we end up only using 700 of the 741,000, the clerk's office would then void that PO, and those funds would not be used. However, if it does come back and we have to order more, if we're using more oil than anticipated, we'd have to bring that back by commission. And it's kind of one of the inefficiencies of our policies is we can't schedule a meeting every time they need to order a tank of oil for a road program or project that you've already approved in doing so. So when we update our purchasing policy, we'll try to address this issue so that way it's still following policy as this, but to create some efficiencies so that way every single load doesn't have to get approved by the commission.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Darren, just a question on, and you might not, if not, we'll get Brandon when he gets back. The amount that we're purchasing, is that also to help the other outlying cities?
No, they purchase all
their
their
own? Okay.
all their material
Okay.
and oil and everything.
Okay.
And some of those, like for even the rock, some of those
Okay.
City, Victoria, Ellis, Hayes, they use different suppliers and vendors and types of rock for the city because the type of rock that they can use is somewhat different. It breaks down differently because of the road speeds in town are different than the county road speeds.
Okay. I want the community to know that and our taxpayers, so, yeah. Okay. All right. I'll move to approve PO 7822, Argonne Asphalt and Emissions Incorporated.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Is any of this for South Ellis Avenue? Is that separate?
No, because we don't know if we'll be able to get that to this, depending on how the environment is, the weather and everything. By the time they get that done, within hopefully the next couple weeks, let it sit and throughout the year, make sure it compacts and
Right,
does
yeah.
everything. And then
And then we'll go.
if we could, this year, if it all settles in and we get some moisture and it packs in, they could come back and do something. But if not, it would be added into the next year.
Yeah,
if
I
the
remember
commission
that
still wants to
discussion that
do that.
we'll seal it later. Okay.
I think everybody would like it sealed and everything this year, but their concern, from my understanding, is if they seal it too fast and the base needs to be repaired, you have to tear up everything that we just sealed and then have to reseal it again. So just to give it some time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Next, we have Wage and Benefits Committee.
Switch. Next item on your agenda is for a new resolution to update the Wage and Benefits Committee. As the commission has read through there back in 2018, the commission approved a resolution to appoint a Wage and Benefits Committee that represents the different employees throughout the county. That was done after the change from not having unions within county government anymore, in Ellis County at least. And the intent was to still allow the different union groups to be able to meet together and talk about wages and benefits for the county. It's worked well. We always have employees who are willing to serve on that committee. And every 2 years when we have elections, we usually have multiple people that run for those positions that they vote on. And they're currently represented by a member of the executive team, the sheriff's office, the professional office staff. So those are the people that are sitting in office environments, and then a member from EMS and Public Works. The discussion got brought up at a previous Wage and Benefits Committee that since we added the dispatch center at the beginning of 2024 as a whole new department, should they have their own seat at the table of the Wage and Benefits Committee, or should they fall into another agency? And the preference from the Wage and Benefits Committee as well as the dispatchers were to have their own seat because they are kind of their own entity, their own department. That's how they came, and we made them as part of Ellis County when they came from the city. And their needs and their work schedules are also different than everybody else in the county. So we all felt it was best, and the Wage and Benefits Committee felt it was best to have a new resolution to appoint or to approve the new resolution so that way they would have a member on the Wage and Benefits Committee.
Okay.
And then those seats are for 2-year terms, and you can run 3 terms per the resolution that was approved in 2018 as well as this one here. So a member can be on that committee for 6 years if they choose to be and get voted in by members of their groups.
Okay. Thank you for the information. Do we have any discussion?
All I ask is how much time gets put onto this wage and benefits? Is it a monthly, quarterly?
Usually
just a guess.
quarterly
Okay.
at the end of the year. It's usually about the time a budget starts to
Okay.
the budget ends, so that way they can see the process of how much money is in. And then at the end of the year, we start looking about insurance, looking at, I know there's some discussion this year about modifying our preventative care checklist, which determines how and you get your premium discounts if you complete those checklists. They look at the funds that we have in the benefits fund and help determine and make suggestions to the commission in regards to what we should do for healthcare premiums, whether increase, decrease, stay the same, or use some of those funds that are in that employee benefit fund.
Yeah.
So it kind of varies throughout the year, but it's usually, I would say, at least quarterly, and we usually meet. Some of them are at least an hour, but some of them go for a couple hours.
Okay.
And when they do come in, we try to do it over like a lunch period and provide Jimmy John's. I think that was the last thing that we had. And then sometimes we also have FCMI come in, which is our insurance consultant, where our insurance is through, and they give updates as well. So they spend quite a bit of time.
Okay.
Okay.
And the ones that are on this committee, they go back and communicate with, okay, very good.
Correct. And they also, the members, just say for Public Works, the two, because there's a primary and an alternate, so that way if the primary can't be there, the alternate for that department can come. But
Okay.
they share that information back, but also they bring suggestions back from their employees to the Wage and Benefits Committee. One suggestion that was actually made by office staff this year was to change our preventative care checklist to add a section in there to add a section to, how would I say it? Like if you go out and get your blood work done, you go out and do your preventative care, like your well woman, well man, or different things that are on there. One thing that they're asking to add was cancer screening, like skin cancer screening is an item. So that's something that's very recent in the last couple of weeks that we've met.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess?
My only comment, it makes a lot of sense to have dispatch have somebody on the committee. Again, they are their own department. They may share the building with the sheriff's office and that kind of thing, but they're not part of the sheriff's. They're their own department with 14 employees and essentially new to the county as we bring them further into the fold. This makes a lot of sense to me to have them have a little bit of their own voice, because again, they do hire, and what they're looking for as far as their career is different than the other departments. So,
Okay.
makes sense to me.
I agree. So, okay, with that, I'll move to approve Resolution 24-08, adding a voting member to the Wage and Benefits Committee.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
And as a quick side note, just for the dispatchers, this week is Telecommunicators Week. So I guess giving a quick shout out to the work that they do, and appreciation of all the work that they do for all the emergency services throughout the entire county. So this is their week to be recognized, so I appreciate the work that they do.
Okay, I'll ditto that.
Yeah.
So, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, next we have the 2024 Ellis County Commission Scholarships.
Well, this is somewhat of the final piece for the scholarships discussion for 2024. As you can see on the agenda item, and maybe for those in the audience, if I go to the right page, scroll down. The commission approved in the budget this year to award 15 scholarships to all 4 high schools in Ellis County. And as you can see, we have 15 awardees. And if you like, I don't know if it might be good just for those that are listening that can't necessarily see the screen as easy. I can go through those. But of those 15, we received 8 internal applications. Those are employees of Ellis County and their family members. And the other 7 were awarded outside of Ellis County. So that way, when we had this original discussion, if we didn't have enough, we would go back to Fort Hays and NCK and Hays Academy of Hair Design to have them select members of who are applying for their schools that are in need of financial assistance. So 8 of these are internal and 7 are external. But as you can see, for the Ellis High School, the $1,000 awardee is Emily James, and then Kylie Pfeiffer and Keishan Brock each are a $500 scholarship. At Hays High, we have 2 $1,000 scholarships to Sierra Schmidt and Kevin Chrome, and then 4 $500 scholarships to April Eshelman, Bryn Kinderconnect, Cadence Klingsmith, and Ashlyn Moore. Moving on to TMP, the $1,000 scholarship is Kendall Walker, and 2 $500 scholarships go to Allison Gutshock and Tessa Beffert. And then over in Victoria, the $1,000 recipient goes to Lindsay Scheck, and the 2 $500 scholarships are for Trenton Day and Kennedy Amrine. I listed each school that they are attending to, and all 3 of those groups that we were looking for, both NCK, Fort Hays, and Hays Academy of Hair Design, all had applicants that are awarded scholarships. And then each of those individual students, I also listed their major that they're going into. With that, at the previous commission meeting, and when we were discussing these, we talked about having a commissioner attend each of the ceremonies or the awards banquets at each high school. And I believe, I just wanted to confirm these so I can get these on your calendar to attend. But I believe Commissioner Liker was going to attend Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ellis was going to be Commissioner Burgess. And then Commissioner Younger was going to be at Hays High already, and I believe that was the intention there. Is that correct?
Unless one of the other commissioners would like to do it, but I guess I'm there because I'm presenting a couple
Okay.
other ones, so
You're okay with that?
I'm fine with that unless you guys
That's fine
choose to do
with
so.
me. That's
No,
okay.
that's fine.
And then the first one of those 4 would be at TMP on May 1st. And is there a commissioner that would like to attend that one?
I could do that one.
Okay. After the meeting, Carissa will be sending all of the information over to the different schools and their counselors to get them on their award ceremony, and I will pass along who will be attending, and then we'll put it on your calendars to attend those that night.
Okay.
Any questions for me on the scholarships?
And that should be coming up here pretty quick here in May.
The TMP is May 1st. Hayes High is on May 6th. Victoria and Ellis are on May 8th. When we got those dates, those were 2 months ago, but I will confirm those when we contact the schools today, ensure those dates and times are the right, and then, like I say, I'll send you an email as well as a calendar invite for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, and congratulations to all these grads in their scholarship award. I think, I'm sure they're all highly qualified, and I'm surprised they all have a major. It took me about 3 years in college before I could decide on something. Here they are coming out of it, and these are all careers. I'm looking at them, are careers that are in high demand. And I'm glad and proud that our commission is helping them get a little bit of a leg up in going into their careers of choice.
Yeah. The last 14 years that we've been doing it, it's always you want to retain those people here. It does work. So there's a lot of them that stayed here because of that, which is good for our county, city, our whole community. But it's quite the honor to present those scholarships to these individuals. They really appreciate it. Big smiles all the time.
Very good. Okay. Moving on to County Administrator report.
Do we need a motion?
No, do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'll move to approve the following 15 recipients for the 2024 Ellis County Commissioner Scholarships.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Younger. Now, we have County Administrator report.
I do have a couple things. One of your items that you looked at in your consent agenda that wasn't actually part of the consent agenda is, as Brendan has spoken before, when we get the state KDOT grants, there's several processes that we have to go through and bring it back to the commission for approval. Just yesterday in the mail, they received, I believe there's 5 copies of the contractual documents for votes, I believe is how you say that. Votes Parga, which is doing the construction of the Cathedral Road reconstruction over in Victoria. We received those yesterday, and they're wanting to actually start placing barricades later this week and get started as well. So we didn't want to wait to sign their contract and prevent them from not being able to start the contract. So as you saw this morning, if the commission is okay to go ahead and sign that contract document for Votes Parga to get started on the Cathedral Road over in Ellis.
Over in Victoria.
Victoria, correct. Surprise.
Yeah.
That would have been a surprise. Yeah, that one I didn't get the memo on that one.
So are you looking for a separate motion for that?
No, I don't think we have a motion. I just wanted to make sure that it was on a commission meeting that the contract for Votes Parga for the Cathedral Road reconstruction was on the minutes for approval and for signature from the commission.
Okay.
If there's no questions on that, the next item, and I did want to mention, Brendan wanted me to share that they will start on the south end of that road starting at Old 40 and then move north up underneath the bridge. I don't remember the exact street. Is that 4th Street that goes back to the east?
I believe so.
But they're going to do that section first, so that way it can be completed before the bridge that is right there in that area is getting reworked, so that way they can still use that as a detour for people exiting and want to leave Victoria to come to Hayes or back and forth and still use that detour instead of having to go all the way up to I-70. So
Okay.
that road project will get started here fairly quickly.
Okay.
The next item, I just wanted to give you a kind of an update. As Commissioner Liker actually stated earlier in the meeting, the wildfire, the Codell fire up northeast Ellis County was last week. Started Thursday at 11:42, and it was actually big enough when it did start that I did get emails and text messages from the National Weather Service that they, from their satellites imagery, were able to pick up a hot spot. So when it did start and it grew fast enough that we were almost notified by a satellite before it actually got paged out. Part of the reason it got delayed from being paged out was because of the area up there. You just don't have very good cell phone signal. But it was very close. But I just thought that was interesting. Due to the size of the fire and the direction and everything that it went through, we end up having our emergency manager contact the commission chair at that point, mid-afternoon, and request to put Ellis County in a state of emergency disaster, which Commissioner Liker did approve that. And then we did sign that document the next morning when we were actually back in town and could meet with Commissioner Liker. What that does at those types of points, whether it's a fire, earthquake, tornado, et cetera, that puts us into a state of disaster that unlocks different fundings, both for us to be able to use outside of our emergency. It gives us some emergency procurement procedures that we can start moving into, but it also gets passed along to the state. It went to the State Emergency Operations Center as well as to the governor, who had also declared a disaster. And what that does then is we had several planes that were out there dropping water. The Forestry Service were out there, and a task force out of north central Kansas came to assist. And because of that disaster being approved by the chair at that point, it unlocks all those resources at no cost to Ellis County and gets additional resources up there. So we are still in a 7-day that disaster goes for 7 days. So until this Thursday, and luckily a little bit amount of rain that we did get, 10th or 20 hundredths last night, depending on where you're at, may help for a day or two. At least the temperatures are dropping back down here in the next couple of days. But I did want to follow up just to give the commission a heads up. The Ellis County has not been in a burn ban. It kind of gets to a tipping point of when's the best time, and it's never the best time for everyone, because you're going to want to have some people are going to want to do different things. Some people have different resources than others do that allow them to burn. And then you pick a date that is always 2 days before somebody else had planned to do something. So what I'm asking, I guess, is just to give everybody a heads up, unless we get some moisture. And actually, one of the funny things is in years past, sometimes after we implement a burn ban, we get moisture right away after that. So then we lift it. So hopefully that would be the case. But since we did get a little bit of moisture, my goal is to implement the burn ban next week, starting on Monday, the 22nd. And I believe it's the 22nd. And that way everybody has about a week's time throughout the rest of this week and the weekend to do any burning that they need. And then we'd put the burn ban in place, and hopefully that brings us moisture. But if not, it'll stop eliminating some of the burns that are going on out there into the future to kind of keep us in a better state until we start greening up and get some accumulated moisture throughout the entire county.
And the fire that we had, that was an accidental fire. It was not a controlled burn that got out of hand. That was accidental or incidental, more or less.
Operating equipment failure,
Right.
correct.
So it's not saying that, I don't know that we've had much controlled burns get out of hand here as of recently, have we?
There has been a couple this year, and it's not just because they weren't paying attention, but it's because of winds.
Conditions.
Say, for instance, even out at our landfill, they burned the tree piles. They buried the trees almost 2 weeks before, and then those large amount of winds that we got blew off enough of the dirt that allowed air to get into the brush pile underneath and started a fire. And that happens sometimes throughout the county when somebody has a burn and you think it's out, wind shifts, the relative humidity goes down, the temperatures increase, it causes fires to reignite, unfortunately.
Okay.
How many acres have we had burn?
Well, until last Thursday, we were doing pretty good, I think at 93 acres in the entire county. And I don't have the exact estimates off of satellite imagery yet for the burn scar for Northeast, but that is estimated at 1,750 acres. So pretty big increase.
So, okay.
Has there any been talk on control, burns, pastures and that kind of stuff?
So it's another one of those things. In the eastern part of the state, it's very prominent. They do it in the Flint Hills all the time. There's good for the soil and everything. It's good for wildfires to contain them, so that way you don't have thick brush and grass everywhere. But even out there, they have a lot of people complain because of the loss of visibility and the quality of the air goes down. In western Kansas, where we're at, it's not as likely to get done. There are prescribed burn agencies that are willing to go out and help farmers do that. However, there's a lot of in the western part of the state, one of the pushbacks is they need the land to be able to graze their animals on. So if you burn it all off, and especially some of the large fires that have happened in the past, there's not as much. I mean, you guys are both farmers. All three of you have experience on the farm, but we had one of the property owners just last week. They were doing good this year on the amount of feed and bales that they had. And when that 1 million acre plus fire happened in Texas here a couple weeks ago, they sent people or a trailer load of hay down to them. And now they're going to be hurting because they lost some of their back. So it's that give and take of how much pasture you have, what you can burn off, what you need to use to graze your animals. And then there's also restrictions at the state for CRP on when you can bale it, if you can bale it, and if you can burn it. Those regulations were talked about on the Wildland Task Force that I was part of with Governor Kelly's appointment. And there's goods and there's bads. And it didn't really take off anywhere because each individual part of the state and each individual farmer is different based on what their needs are.
All right. And I'd like to thank Mr. Chair for coming in and doing that out of your regular work day and getting that done. So
It's not a phone call you want to have.
I know.
It's
I know.
out of the blue, so.
Yep.
I have no problem doing that when it's, I was watching the fire, unfortunately from the south side of Victoria, and saw it kind of coming directly that way, so it's a pretty easy call to make.
I guess I didn't even think about mentioning it, but in appreciation to many things, but mostly the volunteer firefighters that go up there, but it's amazing. We had people pulling off the interstate. I had a report of a guy driving through interstate going to Kansas City, saw the fire, he went into Walmart and bought cases of water and food and Gatorade and brought it out. But the farmers that are out there with their implements, Baskel Tank Service, Flatlander, Midland Marketing, Simpson Farm, they're bringing out tanks of water for firefighting purposes. People that just drop by and give food, but McDonald's is always great. They donate food whenever we have a large fire like that. And I put it in the press release kind of as a joke, but you'd be amazed when you walk up to a firefighter, it's just completely black. And when they smile, their teeth stick out because, their face is black. But give them a cheeseburger and they smile and their white teeth show up. But McDonald's and steps up real big to help us out, and Wendy's helped us out this as well. But just thanks to everybody that comes out and supports when we have instances like that in the county. And it's just a great community to live in.
that's that volunteer name again, so which is great. Especially somebody pulling off interstate like that. That is really unheard of.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Next we have commission reports. Mr. Burgess?
I got some things to report. I'll start with the easier request here. So I sent a job works information to Darren, and I believe he shared it to my fellow commissioners. Graham County has a program that I believe they implemented last year on, and it just goes along with some of the discussion we had last week about implementing something maybe for our high demand jobs in Ellis County. We have Roz that we're working with. We got the scholarship program. So they have a program in Graham County that is a job recruitment program. So I'd like to ask Darren if he could get Dan Steffen, who's the Graham County Economic Director. I believe he lives here in Hayes, to invite him to one of our commissions. I'd like to hear more about this program and just see if it's something that we can maybe look at or see and just get a better idea of their implementation of it last year as a county. It's different than ROS, because ROS is kind of a state program that recruits people in. From what I understand, this program's more, again, designed for kind of internal and for businesses within your county to use to hire. Kind of speaking to Mr. Kennedy's, the other way to reduce taxes is you got to expand your tax base. So I think we can look at any programs that recruit and retain people to our county can also, over the long haul, help us with our tax base. So that's my request, if we can get that done. And then my other request, I went to Ellis City Council meeting last evening, and on their topic, one of their topics again was the Ellis County Library. And through that discussion that they had last night, as they tried to weigh their options as far as opting into the Ellis City opting into being a part of the Ellis County Library, or what the criteria is, we did send them a memorandum of understanding of different options, and they're still kind of weighing through those options, I believe. But what their request was from last evening to our commission was they would like to set up a special meeting on either the 22nd or the 29th, that would be next Monday, the following Monday, to have our commissioners present, the county commission present with their city council. I believe they want their school board present, their library board, and I believe even the Hayes Library Board. I know they're going to kind of coordinate that, but that was their invitation to us as commissioners to be present if we can be. So I'm available the 22nd or 29th. The only the 22nd, I asked if it is that, they would probably have it at like 7 o'clock or 6:30 is typically their meeting times, but the 23rd we have our road tour, and if it's something, if we go over there the 22nd, maybe they have it a little bit earlier, just so that way it doesn't end up that we come home late and then we got to turn around and do a road tour. I think they're amenable to that, but if the 29th works better. The hesitation to the 29th, of course, is that pushes that out. I mean, they're trying to make a decision. They need to make it before May 8th, and so that just, again, shortens their time frame. But if my commissioners are open to either of those dates or open to being a part of the meeting.
Every day's a Saturday for me, so.
The 22nd would probably work better for me, especially if it's in the evening.
Okay.
That's
But
fine.
I can make either work.
Okay. Well, Darren, I'll task you to reach out to Amy and just say that we're agreeable to be in attendance for whenever they set it up. And 22nd, it works for me just fine too. So.
You're doing 7 or 6:30?
Their council meetings usually start at 6:30. I think that's what we're shooting for that time.
Okay.
So.
I will contact her and see if we can get that set up, and then send out a special meeting notice.
Mhm.
Because we'll have one for that Monday as well as Tuesday for the road tour. And then I'll shoot you a calendar invites as well as an email, so that way you know.
Outside of those two requests, I did, as I said, I attended the Ellis City meeting this week. They did give thanks to Ellis County for passing their neighborhood revitalization program. They already have, I think there may be people coming to the appraiser this morning. I think they got some people chomping at the bit to really take advantage of that program. And they also announced some infrastructure improvements that the Hess Corporation is doing. They own some property there to put in some streets and roads and stuff. So that's thanks to Grow Hayes and their efforts to get Ellis City kind of moving forward. Attended a City of Hayes meeting, and then participated in the community cruise that was put on by the Hayes Chamber that invited local elected officials to tour our community. We all know those kind of projects are going on. You kind of wish you'd grab a community member and ride along with you, because when you see schools being built, houses and apartments being built, a microfactory, job being built, bridges being built that we watched through, the library at Fort Hayes. Fort Hayes has got things going on, and you tour all those things in one afternoon, and you really get a sense of the community involvement and from our standpoint as elected officials, kind of, where our taxpayer dollars are going. It's easy kind of sit back and what's going on or nothing's going on, and it's kind of slow movement, but then you take a tour like that and you see everything again. My biggest thought was, man, I'd love to grab 3 or 4 people, especially off some of the Facebook comments, that think we're wasting dollars and all this thing, and just go around and see what the improvements are, see how much of the local impact, especially usually in the schools especially, most of those contractors are very local contractors, so it's certainly benefiting our local economy having these projects going on. So I do appreciate that opportunity. So that's all I got for report.
Thank you. Mr. Younger?
Well, with that being said, today is the 16th, so it's Give Day at Fort Hays State. They've got a lot of projects, like Mike said, like to grab a couple, 2, 3 dozen of people and take them out and show them. On the little tour, there was people that didn't even know that the Public Works building was being built north of town. So I think they got some eye openers, and they really liked that. The other one, I did, since Victoria, I went to that meeting last night. They're really enthused about that road getting done. They were gung-ho to get that started as ASAP. Then also, the other one at the little KAC in Colby, attended that. Like all the other commissioners say, we're really being watched, because on the breaks you'd go outside and visit with some of them, ask them, different projects, and they're watching Ellis County really close, and a couple of them said, follow the leader. So we are being watched and recognized. The other one, I was going to ask Darren. Well, the first, I guess before I ask Darren, one, everybody hopefully likes the fence around the AC unit out here. I think it's attractive. It looks nice for our building. The other one, how's the library roof coming? Any idea on that one?
To be honest with you, I have not.
I
been over
drove
there to
by
check
it,
on
but
I don't know if Scott's got an update. He's there every day.
The only thing that I can say is most of the equipment is cleared, so they're probably about done. They're just finishing up a few things on it, on the LEC. So, yeah, so they've got all of their lifts and hoists and all of that off. So I think they're getting pretty close to being done. So I haven't climbed up there and looked, and I haven't looked on the cameras to see if they're working up there, but I could definitely can and let you guys know for sure. So, but it's definitely died down. So, and the lot's now open again on the south side. So.
Oh,
okay.
And I'm not hearing complaints about noises, so all is good. All right, so.
good deal. Thank you.
Yeah. And like I say, I did go to that KC and rode out with Brandon and Gary, and he did tell me his birthday's on the 23rd, so happy birthday to Gary, and tried to talk him into staying just a little bit longer. I think he's got that R word in his vocabulary, but I think he'll stay a little bit longer. So some of the things that the commissioners have done is retaining our people for maybe another year or maybe 2. So that's all I have.
Okay. Well, I will echo. I went along with the other 2 commissioners on the cruise, community cruise, and you only have a certain amount of time to see certain projects, but projects such as the library, not the library, but the Historical Society was not on there. Over in Victoria, the projects that are ongoing and have been completed within the past year, with the Dollar General and the St. John's, those, and over in Ellis with all up there by Interstate, some of the additions up there. Those are things that we didn't have time for, in the short amount of time that was allotted for that cruise. But you step back as a community and look and see what's going on. It's got to be one of the most exciting times in the past 10 or 15 years in this area. So, and the feeling was palpable amongst all those people. So it was a good thing, and I think everybody had the same thought process going forward, is how to make it work for the people who are supporting it, the local tax base. So that was fun to see. Other than that, other than working with Lyle and Darren on the state of emergency, I have no other report.
It was, it seemed, and I told Darren that too, it seemed like we barely got on that bus and we were back already, like you say. Our time was cut pretty short, but in that short amount of time, we did see a lot of growth, which is good. But like I say, there's a lot more out there.
So, okay, with that, if there's no other discussion, we will adjourn the meeting at 10 o'clock.
Boom.